serious case at a Tata Consultancy Services facility in Nashik has triggered national attention. Multiple FIRs allege sexual harassment and assault involving employees. Police have made arrests and the probe is ongoing. Some complaints also refer to alleged forced religious conversion. The company has initiated an internal inquiry. Reports indicate 9 complaints against 8 colleagues, 7 Muslim, including Nida Khan, and 1 Hindu woman. Some of the accused were in supervisory roles, and a few complaints allege that senior managers ignored concerns when they were raised. This appears to contrast with CEO K Krithivasan's statement that an initial review found no matching complaints through internal ethics or POSH channels. TCS has since brought in Deloitte and Trilegal and set up an oversight panel led by independent director Keki Mistry. Meanwhile, the story has moved beyond the FIRs. Sections of the media have framed it using terms like corporate jihad, turning it into a wider ideological debate. Television and social media have amplified claims, often without full verification. This raises a serious question. Are we reporting facts or driving a media trial? To discuss this, we are joined by senior journalist Arfa Khanum Sherwani. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. As a senior journalist, how do you view the whole media's narrative on the TCS Nashik case?
I think what we've seen in the last 12 years is that there is one thing or the other. They need episodes of communal tension, communal hatred, which finally ultimately leads to communal violence. So I see TCS as a build up to something larger, bigger, and which is to really make Muslims young, educated, skillful, trained Muslims, not just unemployed, but unemployable. So that I think is the strategy behind this targeted attack on Muslims. I don't see this as some kind of an innocent, reaction to what's happening to, let's say, in one particular office, in one state, in one city of one state. I don't see this as any kind of an innocent reaction to the accusations made by especially the Saffron organization. So, in my view, this is definitely something which is not organic, which is not natural, which is organized. They say that Muslim men are getting organized to attack and convert Muslim women. I feel, on the other hand, actually, the attack on them is organized.
Why do you even say that this is organized, considering that a lot of the victims in the case said that there was sexual harassment, and though they filed an internal complaint, it was not, an action was not taken on that. Could you just elaborate on why you would call it as an organized crime?
See, being a woman and that too being a professional woman, I know that workplaces can be toxic and workplaces can be threatening to many women. So I will never be insensitive about women feeling a certain way and that too collecting the courage and complain about it. But what do we have really in front of us right now? We have police complaints and we have the Saffron goons and these organizations who have a set target on what they want to do. What I have right now is that the evidence only is that I will go by what TCS and their official statement is saying. The very fact that I agreed to do this interview with you is that now I have facts with me. And the TCS statement, categorically and officially says that there are 0 complaints they received, neither their POSH committee, which is Prevention of Sexual Harassment Committee, nor their ethics committee. So I have 2 options: whether to agree with, these FIRs, which have been lodged under pressure, and the pressure came from the Bajrang Dal and other, local saffron organizations, which are working in close coordination with the government of the day, or trust TCS and their investigation until we know better. So I would prefer to trust latter the TCS, if they had, and these records, they have to produce them in court. They cannot really manufacture something which does not exist, or they cannot hide something which is already in their record, because they, I'm sure, did not see this coming, that they were really working overtime to hide all these evidences. So for me, if I have to choose between these two, I will choose what TCS has to say. Having said that, if you ask me that why I am saying that nothing can happen to women at workplaces, I am myself, as I said, a professional woman who's working in who has worked in several newsrooms for the past more than 2 decades, and there are incidents which I may have faced, my friends may have faced, my co-workers may have faced, and it is pretty much possible for Muslim men to target a woman or harass her or blackmail her or try to do whatever. It's possible, as much as it is possible for Hindu men to do so to, Hindu women or Muslim women or women from any other religion. And this similarly would go for people, men belonging to any religion. But what I refuse to believe is that there is some kind of a religious doctrine that they are following, and they all are sitting in one room and talking to each other and conspiring with each other that, okay, let's go to office today, let's first get ourselves educated, then manage to get at the top corporations called TCS, Tata Consultancy. And then finally, when we are able to secure these jobs, then we are going to get organized and then target these Hindu women, lure them, into our religion. First of all, try to bring them closer on the pretext of love or marriage, or and then blackmail them and then trying to convert them. So what I am not willing to believe is that there is a thing called love jihad. I think love jihad is a
The
complete lie.
grooming gang is how mainstream media have also put it, corporate jihad and grooming gang. That's the terminology that they have used.
Exactly. So I'm saying individuals, whether be it Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, or Isai, they are capable of all kinds of crimes. And that's why you have law enforcement agencies in India who, act upon that. And they did, they filed 9 FIRs, right? But what I do not believe is that individuals are capable of crimes, but I do not believe, unless I see an evidence. And I think I will continue to believe and think of this as propaganda until the point that I have evidence before me, but that there is an evidence of an organized crime that Muslim men are trying to commit.
So, has the media turned this case into a trial before the court has, with the mainstream media reporting?
I think it's more than that. Media trial, I think it's too soft a term to describe what's happening right now. Media is just a tool for a larger, bigger political conspiracy, which is to dehumanize Muslims to a point where the state can justify any kind of violent actions on them. So they can be jailed, they can be killed, there can be violence committed on them. The Bajrang Dal people, when try to hide the issue to a point where Hindu women are in danger, and if you are successfully, convincing the majority community that yes, their women are in danger, yes, their land is in danger, yes, their jobs are in danger, yes, their nation is in danger, and for all of this, the responsible people are the Muslim community, are the Muslim men in particular. So when you try and put such kind of serious allegations, accusations on people, you try to show them in poor light to an extent where they do not get the status of a proper human who deserves human dignity, human rights, and human freedoms. So you actually reduce them to a subhuman level. So any action, any violence, any discrimination then can be justified.
So, it sort of reduces Muslims to a second class citizen in the mind of the regular citizens, let's say, by showing this sort of portrayal. Is that right?
Definitely. And see, things like love jihad or even other jihads for that matter, these are emotional issues. India is a patriarchal society, and still many people, not just Hindus, I would say the society in general thinks of women as not capable of thinking on their own. Like the whole concept of love jihad, or in fact, a very stupid reaction to love jihad was also something ridiculous as Al Bhagwa love trap. So I would just say it was a reaction, a very stupid, idiotic reaction to love jihad, that women themselves are not capable of thinking, thinking about themselves and thinking on their own. They cannot take care of themselves. So you need really these saviors, men, older men who should save them, because women, even if they are educated, even if they are employed, even if they are engineers, even if they are doctors, journalists, but they cannot, because they don't have enough maturity, they do not have enough wisdom, they do not have physical, power to take care of themselves. So they need to be saved. So, the Hindu community, unfortunately, a large part of that, through media and through other, propaganda tools, they have been able to convince them that women need saving. As I said, not that Muslim community is particularly, superior or they are wiser, but it's just that there is hardly any organized or institutional backing behind things like Bhagwa Love Trap, and that's why they fail. Love Jihad succeeds and Bhagwa Love Trap fails, because there is no institutional or state backing behind those concepts.
Also, how do you see the media's focus on sensational religious elements like being forced to eat beef or offer namaz? Does it reduce the criminal allegations of sexual harassment in this case? I mean, irrespective of whether it's proven to be true or not, the kind of narrative that's built, since there are two major things happening in this case. One was the religious aspect, forced religious conversion, and the sexual harassment on women. Is the narrative giving more importance to religion rather than the harassment of women?
Yeah, it's kind of, I think it's a very intelligent question that you are asking, that instead of, the accusations on sexually harassing women, but sexually harassing women to for the purpose of a higher religious objective. So it's not just harassing women for the sake of harassing women, but to achieve a higher religious purpose, a higher religious goal, because these men are not driven by just some kind of a lust or some other worldly things, but this is some kind of a divine force that is driving them towards committing this sin. So even if, let's say, a person, a man or a woman, was inclined towards Islam or any other religion, the first thing you want to do is that you read the scriptures, you try to understand what the religion preaches, what the principles are, what change will it make in a person's life if the person changes a whole, religious philosophy, a whole, social philosophy as well, because faith and religion are things which are not just inspiration for people in India. It's not just like, let's say, one of the guiding forces, but sometimes it becomes so central to your life that everything around you revolves around your religion. So they are rather, I would say, trivializing and minimizing sexual harassment in itself, which is a grave and a serious crime in itself. What they're trying to do is that they're trying to say that they are being sexually harassed so that they can ultimately convert it to Islam. And then these men, these criminals who are trying to do so, they get some reward, some divine reward when they die, in the life hereafter. So I think they're doing a great and a grave damage to women's safety and women's dignity and women's overall welfare.
So it sort of also creates a harm to the Muslim community in India as well as to women's safety in the offices or any other spaces for that matter.
Definitely. So demonization and trying to turn Muslims into a second-class citizens, not just by the state machinery, but people who I call the friends of the state. I mean, if the things that the police cannot do, then they will, the Bajrang Dal will come forward, or let's say the VHP will come forward, or any other organization, the name of which you may never have heard of. And then this will be whatever the illegal actions that they are trying to commit will be supported by the state and the police, and try to make it some kind of an authentic charge, authentic accusations that now the matter is under investigation, and you should trust the process of the law, etc., etc. So this is the whole. I would say the chain of events is so predictable now that you're not even surprised. that how does this happen? Like in this case as well, the Indian Express has reported that one of the women in TCS, she had taken a liking for one of the men who were working, her co-worker, and she started to get impressed and influenced by his way of life, and that the parents of this girl did not like, and they approached, or the Bajrang Dal approached them. I don't know what is true, but and this is how they started to take this issue up, because the parents did not like the new way of life that this girl had started to adopt. And then this is how Bajrang Dal comes into play, and then supported by the police and state, and the chief minister even makes a remark saying, "Oh, if this is corporate jihad, then we'll have to take this issue seriously." So I think you're right. It dehumanizes and demonizes the Muslim community that we've been witnessing for the past 12 plus years. But I think it is, even by that standard, I would say this is a new law, because even one such event, let's say once in a year, is not enough. What they need is perhaps a monthly episode of communal, hatred, or perhaps I would say weekly, because we are getting so used to these incidents, and our tolerance levels are so high that we are getting usually bored with, okay, I mean, oh, fine, only two people are attacked, only five people are attacked. We can live with it. That's fine. Only, whatever, 9 FIRs have been filed. So you need really different and fresh episodes of these communal churning, so that people can continue to feel that we need this one particular party and one particular politician in power to keep everything in check, because everything is in danger. If you are in danger, then you need this strong men, or group of strong men to protect you. But also, I think they do a kind of a huge disservice to the cause of women in general.
Also, in the context of Nida Khan misidentification, what does it say about the current state of Indian journalism where multiple national newsrooms fail to verify a job designation, which is pretty easy to do so in general before labeling her as, HR head and mastermind of this grooming gang?
I mean, you don't really have to look at facts when you can easily manufacture them. So if you can manufacture the facts that you like, or the lies that you build, and then you believe in them, so you start believing in the lies that you manufacture and you have, built. So if you want to do that, then you really don't want to look at facts. And then the egg is on your face, but then you don't mind that, because again, I mean, they're accusing the Muslim men of working for some kind of a divine higher, purpose, that makes them a good Muslim, or gives them some kind of, what kind of, I don't know, what happiness or whatever purpose. But I think these guys are, on the contrary, are working for that higher purpose, that they are trying to, either they are saving a particular community, and that too, I'm saying this for people who are innocently getting trapped into this. For journalists, I think there cannot be a more serious crime than not looking at facts. As a journalism student, we were always told that facts are sacred and opinions may vary. Now we are already living in a world where it's a post-truth world. So you're not just living in a post-truth world, but you are now creating your own facts, and then you start believing in those, and those facts, those alternate facts, they create your own world. And then you live in that cocoon, you live in that kind of a shell, where everything outside that shell is unreal and unbelievable.
So, as journalists, do you see that are we informing the public in such cases, or are we shaping the story prematurely?
I think we are creating stories now. I think the question you are asking is a pretty innocent question. I think I would have replied to that question perhaps 10 years ago, but today it's not even an innocent kind of a query about what journalists are trying to do. Journalists know what they're doing. They are the foot soldiers of this Hindu Rashtra that the RSS and the BJP are trying to build. And what they're trying to do essentially is that to build this Hindu Rashtra, you do not just need one prime minister, or a few ministers, or few chief ministers, or several kind of member of parliaments. what you really need is that you need lots of doctors and engineers, and similarly you also need journalists. So without manufacturing these narratives and the stories that you force a section of the population to believe in, you cannot really build a theocratic, nation. So the journalists who are doing this, they exactly know what they're doing. So they are not victims. They know what they're doing. So that's why I'm saying it, that it's an innocent question. They know what they're doing. They can see the truth, but they have to ignore the truth in favor of, their political masters. And I wouldn't be too surprised, and I would still perhaps take it lightly if they were doing it because they felt too insecure and they had to, kind of somehow survive financially and save their jobs. But there is another kind as well. So there are two kinds of people. One do it out of pressure or threat, another greed. I would say the number of people, the number of journalists who are doing it out of greed are greater than the people who are just trying to save their jobs. So I think the journalists who we cannot really kind of spare and who should not, um, we should not have any sympathy towards are those who are doing it out of greed.
Also, lastly, before we end, how should a citizen or a consumer of news take such stories, be it a Muslim, a Hindu, or any other citizen of this country?
It's a difficult question. I think I'm asked this question almost on a daily basis, that what to trust anymore and how to trust and who to trust. Especially, at a time when the sources of news is WhatsApp, it is Instagram, and now TikTok is banned. Otherwise, perhaps the TikTok was the greatest source of news for people in India, in even Telegram groups. So if you're no more going to even those, legacy newspapers or even those news channels which lie, but at least in those lies there will be some, hint of truth or facts. So it's very difficult when people are really making up their minds and making up their opinion based on what Instagram says, or what some, Instagram influencer who knows nothing about news, he says, because that's not news, that's not even facts, that's entirely his opinion. So it's a very difficult thing. And I would say for perhaps people who really want to know what truth is, you should not be reading just one source of news. You should be reading at least multiple sources of news, number one. Also, watch videos like, organizations like The Wire, I would say Quint and Scroll and Caravan, News Laundry, and there are some individual YouTubers as well. There are plenty of sources, and I do not think all of us are sitting in one room and really conspiring that, okay, today these are going to be our headlines, and today this is what position we are going to take. So if, let's say, out of these multiple choices that I gave you, if everybody is reporting on the same line, then you can be sure that this will be true.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time and for your insight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.